If you enjoy these programs, please like and subscribe. All Christians admit that one moment before Jesus died, only the religious Jews, the Orthodox Jews, they didn't call them that at the time, the Pharisaic Jews had the truth, and everyone else was wrong.
Okay, caller, you are live. Tell us your name. Where are you calling from?
Hi, my name's Tammy. I am calling from Utah. Thank you so much, Rabbi. I'm sorry I get very emotional when I think of what the Jewish people are doing for us. Forgive my emotions. I was saved out of Christianity, idolatry, 3 years ago on Pesach. Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Rabbi, I would like to know, what is God's purpose for Jesus?
That question is addressed in the works of Maimonides of why did Christianity emerge, and it emerged precisely as the temple was destroyed. Now, this is a very important question as to why Christianity. You may be, well, why not? Well, as it turns out, prior to the destruction of the Second Temple, all the religions in the world were very dissimilar to Judaism. The Jewish faith was the only Abrahamic monotheism in the world. There was no one else who believed that there was one God alone. No one but the Bnei Israel. Of course, there were Bnei Noach, like Naaman, holy people like Noah. I mean, they were not technically Jews, but that was the only monotheism in the world. And the pagan world thought we were a little nutty for that, because to them, the world was so variegated, what they saw, what they observed, it was inconceivable to them that there was one power behind it all. The message of the Jews is it's really all those powers you see are from God. In fact, that's conveyed in the name Elohim, that all the powers are really coming from one source. But why Christianity? So there has to be in the world, there must be a false religion. Has to be, until the Messiah comes. Maybe you don't understand why, so I need to convey this. There has to be free will in the world. There must be religions that are not true, but are very compelling and persuade a lot of people, and then you have free will. There must be free will in the world. If there was not, virtue would be unattainable, would be impossible. You must know this. So there must be false religions. I mean, God could destroy every false religion in the world immediately, but we would lose our free will. So there has to be, and these are not my words, the Torah says this, before you place life, good, death before you, sin before you, uvacharta v'chayim, choose life that you may live. Okay, this is very critical. Why? Because there could be no virtue in the world. It has to be free will. Now, there's one other part of this, one piece of this puzzle that must come into view. In Tanakh, we are told explicitly that when the true Messiah comes, at the end of the days, all the nations of the world will immediately recognize their error. Immediately, they will be shamefaced and come to the Jews and say, now we know God is with you. It's very critical. And they'll figure it out immediately. They'll get it completely. They'll understand their error immediately. Jeremiah 16, and the Gentiles will come to you. And they'll admit, surely you've inherited lies and vanity, whereas there is no truth. How can a man make unto himself gods when they are not? Okay? So the nations of the world, when the true Messiah comes, will immediately recognize their error and come to the Jewish people and pronounce their loyalty to the God of Israel, will be bewildered by Jewish suffering. That's what Isaiah 53 is. Isaiah 53 is the soliloquy on the lips of the Gentile nations. Such chutzpah, the church would use this. The nations, how could this be? If the true Mashiach came during the Persian Empire, as an example, what would, in the Persian Empire, in the Greek Empire, fashioned by Alexander the Great, there was no concept of Mashiach. In fact, the word Christos, a Greek word, spread around the world. The Greek language spread around the known world because of Alexander the Great. By far, the single most important figure in all of Western civilization. I mean, that's why the Greek language and Western thought and philosophy spread, because of Alexander the Great. So they didn't know what a Messiah was. They had no idea what that was. Christos meant that oil was poured on you. You can get a massage and you're a Christ. You get a shiatsu massage. So the nature of false religions had to be sharply changed so that when the true Messiah comes, the Gentiles would immediately recognize their error. So Christianity, Hashem allows a false religion as Christianity to supplant the henotheistic religions of the Greco-Roman world. Why? Because if nothing would have changed, if there was no other Abrahamic monotheism, I'm just using that term, even though Christianity is not a true monotheism, but they called themselves that. So if there was no Christianity, then the world would not even understand that there's such an idea of one God. They wouldn't know what that means, let alone that there's a God who revealed himself to the children of Israel on Mount Sinai, that there's an idea of one God alone, and no other. There is an idea like that. Christians believe that, and went through enormous turmoil seeking to fuse together the radical monotheism of the Jews and the Trinitarian beliefs that were emerging already in the late 2nd century. Like, how do you fuse that together? And that's why Christians were fighting at the Council of Nicaea. Why were they fighting? Because it wasn't clear how to do this. They ultimately hide behind unconventional language like persons and hypostatic unions and so on. So here's the rub. All Christians believe that Judaism is the default baseline. This is very important. So if you don't get what I'm about to say, you won't understand any of this. All Christians admit that one moment before Jesus died, only the religious Jews, the Orthodox Jews, they didn't call them that at the time, the Pharisaic Jews had the truth, and everyone else was wrong. Do you understand that? Every Christian believes, moreover, this will make Christians happy, that if they're wrong about Jesus, if Jesus is not the Messiah, then actually the Jews have the truth. Because Judaism is the default baseline, and Christianity requires another hypothesis on top of it, which makes it less likely. It's just simple. Just like Mormonism is another accretion on top of Christianity, as Christianity is an accretion on top of Judaism, and it's multiple accretions. Okay, you understand this? And just Occam's razor, the default, the fused hypotheses are probably point us in the direction of what the truth is. So, listen. Christianity was necessary that those ideas would fill the world and become the largest world religion with 2 billion people that identify as, that's 1/3 of the world's population, that identify in Christian as somehow. Why? Because when the true Mashiach comes, they will all recognize their error, and 10 of different languages, of different nations will grab the shirt of a Jew and say, take us with you, because now we know that God is with you. They'll be, me, hem, and lishmo, sein, wazrei Hashem, amin, nigluso. Who would have believed this? You understand? So that's why Christianity was allowed to emerge and become successful, because it had to supplant the pagan religions of the ancient world, which had no concept of an Abrahamic religion. And it's interesting that the word pagan actually doesn't mean what you think it means, but the word pagan comes from the word people who like lived in the suburbs, people who lived far away, because people had a more primitive views. Okay, that's where the word comes from. So that's why Christianity was. Now, one thing Hashem didn't let is that Shabbos is only for the Jews. Only Beini Uvein B'nai Israel. It's only between God and Israel. Exodus 31, verse 16, 17. So he didn't let Shabbos stay with the Christians, and Ignatius was the guy who did it, but moved it to Sunday. You're not doing Shabbos on Shabbos. And there always have been Christian groups who've tried to move the Sabbath back to Saturday, including in our time a group that emerged in the 19th century, a millenarian group, the Seventh-day Adventists. They underwent enormous persecution because they're not the only one. There's always groups like that. They're going, what are you doing? Saturday is supposed to be, Sabbath will be on Saturday. So that's the reason why Christianity emerged. Christianity emerged because it's the alternative religion that is perfectly, so it's idolatry, it's illicit, but it prepares the world for Mashiach because it is exactly that religion where people can then understand, the Judaism is the only truth, and immediately disabuse themselves of their former religion. That's why you see the people converting to Judaism in big numbers are coming from. They're not coming from the Hindus. They're not coming from the Buddhists. Not that none are. But it's kind of unusual. So that's why Christianity emerged. That's why Hashem wanted Christianity to emerge, because here's the catch. One of the things that will occur in the Messianic age is the building of the final temple, as you see in the last 3 passages of Ezekiel 37, the last 8 chapters of Ezekiel. So if the temple's standing, that's not a time Mashiach can come or would come. He's rather coming when the temple is destroyed. So the moment the Beis Hamikdash is destroyed, well, the Messiah is born, in a sense. That means Mashiach can come. Because if what he's supposed to do is rebuild the temple, he's not coming while the temple's still standing. So that's the launching point. So that's why Christianity is in the world. It's the alternative religion to the Jewish faith that is illicit, that is opposed by the God of Israel. But there must be false religions in the world until Mashiach comes, or else there's no free will. Right? But it has to be a monotheistic, Abrahamic religion so that people will immediately recognize, Jesus was the Messiah. That means the Jews are right all along. Thank you for your question. If you enjoy these programs, please like and subscribe.
אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא לעת נעשה בחפצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא